Saturn transiting through the seventh house of marriage and relationships will see frustrations in marriage, a breakup of a marriage, a breakup of a partnership, back and kidney trouble, and it's not a good time for you generally to do with court cases and legal matters and things like that. So certainly it's not a good timing for launching a court case. Now I'm going to look at the symbolic movements of the planets through your horoscope, which are called progressions. And the progressions are in the case of the moon, it's the movement of the planet and the moon is classed as a planet in astrology. The movement of that planet in a day is equal to the movement in a year. So therefore, because the moon moves about 13 degrees per day, it takes 2.5 days to go through a particular 30-degree segment of the horoscope called the sign, and therefore it will take 2.5 days to go through a particular house of your horoscope, but by progression, a day is equal to a year in progression, so therefore it will take 2.5 years to progress through a particular house of your horoscope. And the moon brings the focus of your consciousness upon the house that it's progressing through during that 2.5 year period. So the moon going through the first house of your horoscope will generally see major changes in your life, new initiatives and commencing and starting new projects. It's a time when you'll have a change in residence quite feasibly, and certainly you'll be more self-conscious during that time. The moon progressing through the second house of finances will draw your attention upon the financial side of your life, and it'll bring to fruition all of the things that you've sown in that house. And so therefore you're going to have all of your problems in regard to finances coming to the fore to be dealt with. Or you have plans there that you've made constructively and pragmatically to improve your circumstances financially, and the moon will activate them and bring them to fruition during that 2.5 year period. The moon progressing through the third house of your horoscope for 2.5 years will see a focus upon relatives and neighbours, a lot more involvement with relatives and neighbours. You'll enter into an important contract or an agreement sometime in that 2.5 year period. There'll be a focus upon your consciousness and the desire to expand your understanding about things. And so you'll perhaps do a lot of study and research and investigation of a variety of things. You'll probably buy a new motor vehicle. The moon progressing through the fourth house of your horoscope is bound to see a change in residence or a change in circumstances domestically. There's a focus upon everybody in the home and a stimulation of the home environment during that time, and the seeds that you've sown there are going to come to fruition. There'll be a focus on some major developments in the life of one of your parents, perhaps. Now, the moon progressing through the fifth house of your horoscope will see a focus upon children, some major developments in their lives, especially the oldest child. And the moon progressing through the fifth house will activate relationships and romance if you're in the market for a relationship. And it'll see a focus upon the social side of your life generally. Now, the moon progressing through the sixth house of your horoscope is going to focus your attention for 2.5 years upon health and dietary matters. You'll make a change in your job during that time, perhaps. There's a focus upon exercise routines and rituals, and you perhaps could purchase a domestic pet during that 2.5 year period. The moon progressing through the seventh house will see a focus upon your partner, some major changes in the life of your spouse or partner. A change in residence would be possible. and it's going to see perhaps a focus upon new initiatives on the part of your partner which will involve you, and a lot more dealings with the public, perhaps a lot more involvement with your partner's personal interests and initiatives. The moon progressing through the 8th house of your horoscope will see the death of somebody, perhaps a lot of deep thinking and reflection and transformation going on within yourself during that 2.5 year period. And there's going to be a focus upon joint finances, and it's going to be a time when you'll be wanting to know the answers to life after death and so on and so forth, the mysteries of life. The moon progressing through the 9th house of your horoscope, you'll take on some adult course of study. You'll perhaps travel overseas sometime in that 2.5 year period. There'll be a lot more dealings with relatives and neighbours on your spouse's side, in-laws in other words, and there'll be a lot more involvement with higher learning and religious matters and spiritual matters, and a tremendous urge to project yourself to new horizons. The moon progressing through the 10th house of your horoscope for 2.5 years is going to see a change in residence, a change in your career, a focus upon one of your parents and a major development there, and there'll be ambitions. You'll go into business for yourself. It's a time of high achievement in your life. Now then, there's other movements of the planets on the same basis of that. The movement of the planets a day is equal to a year, and what we do is we move all of the planets at the same speed that the sun moves at. It's called solar arc progressions. And so what we do is we add a degree. Basically the sun moves regularly at that 1 degree per year, so we move all of the planets by that 1 degree per year in progression, and as they move through your horoscope, then they take 30 years to go through a particular house of your horoscope. So the focus is not upon the houses of your horoscope this time. The focus is upon the relationships that those planets in movement by progression form in aspect to the planets in your natal horoscope. So, for example, you might at the age of 22 have the sun progress to a conjunction with Venus in your horoscope, and that's a likely timing of marriage. Now, with these progressions, the impact of them is very powerful. Very powerful. It's what you might say. It's part of your destiny. It's part of the plan that you've set for yourself in this particular incarnation before jumping into incarnation and taking that first breath. And so you're destined to get married at a particular time, and that's what the progressions are all about. So having your cycles done by me with the progressions and everything gives you a look at your karma and your destiny. Now, if you've got the sun in good aspect to Venus, you're likely to get married during that time. If you've got the sun well aspected to the moon, you're likely to have a child. If you've got Mars badly aspected to a conjunction with Saturn, say for example, it's the timing of the death of a parent perhaps. If you've got Uranus in bad aspect to Mars, you're likely to have some sort of a crisis in your life. And so these are the things that are very, very powerful, and they have an orb of at least 3 months either side of that perfect aspect, that perfect conjunction, or that perfect sextile, or that perfect square, or that perfect trine, or that perfect opposition. Now, by the same token, there's the side is there, but the positive side is there too with these progressions, so that when you have Jupiter in progression forming a good aspect with any of the planets in your horoscope, a good aspect of conjunction, or a good aspect of sextile, or a good aspect of trine, then that's going to mean some terrific thing is going to happen in your horoscope and in your life, and it'll be more to do with the planet that's being aspected by the progress Jupiter, and which house does that planet sit in, and which house or houses does that planet rule. Now, Mercury, for example, rules the house that has Gemini on the cusp of it and Virgo on the cusp of it. Venus rules the house that has Taurus on the cusp of it and Libra on the cusp of it. And so you can look to the type of events that you're going to be experiencing in life by your destiny and things that are meant to happen in this 6-month period of 3 months either side of this perfect aspect, this perfect conjunction or sextile or square or trine or opposition, and that will activate these things so that you just happen to meet somebody during that time, and I just felt so attracted to that person at that time and fell in love. And we just felt as if we wanted to have a child as that aspect was coming to into orb with the moon, for example. And I just felt like a change in residence. I just felt as if everything was pushing me towards a change in career. I just felt like travelling overseas. I just felt like going into business. So you've got all of these positive things that are happening in your life through these progressions, and you've also got the negative things that are happening in your life. Now, you can offset the negative impact of these cycles by being forewarned, by having your horoscope done by a proficient astrologer. They can tell you what's coming up in the future through these cycles, and you can then avert that. You cannot make that decision to change business when the planets are not in the right orb, and you can decide not to form the relationship at that time because it's likely that it'll be formed on bad judgment or deception. You cannot make that financial investment or that decision to change your career or that decision to travel overseas because the planets are not indicating that it's going to be a wise move for you. You can say, I'm not going to have the operation at that time because I've got bad aspects between Mars and Saturn in my horoscope by progression, and that's not conducive to good surgery. And so I'll put it off until I've got the moon in good aspect to Jupiter, or Venus in conjunction with Mercury, or something like that. So this gives you an idea of the movement of the planets through your horoscope. I'm prepared to do your horoscope for you free of charge to give you an idea of what's going on in your life and to help you to become more of who you really are. So I thank you for your attentiveness, and what I suggest is that you play these over and over again because it expands your consciousness and expands your understanding about the nature of reality and your place in that reality. And we're all in life. We're all in incarnation, and it's up to us to make the most out of every single moment in this incarnation so that we can know when is the right time for making decisions and choices and when is not the right time for making decisions and choices and changes. So I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to doing your horoscope should you decide to have one done. And I look forward to seeing you grow and reach and stretch and become more of who you really are by getting into my intensives. And from here on, I'm going to be teaching you more about things like meditation and reincarnation and the law of cause and effect and all sorts of things now that I've gotten through these 11 odd videos on the science of astrology for you. So good luck with everything in the future in regard to your understanding, and I look forward to working with you should you decide to have your horoscope done by me. Thank you.